Welcome to Silicon Valley Life. In each episode, you'll get an insider's look at what makes Silicon Valley special, how people pursue ideas, deal with failure, and enjoy life. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, concordiaventures.com. Now, here are the hosts of Silicon Valley Life, Naeem Zafar and Meena Meyyappan.
Well, hello, and this is Naeem Zafar. Good to see you all. We're starting our podcast, and then I want to introduce my co-host, Meena.
Hi
And
there.
Meena, tell me.
Tell you what, it's very gloomy outside in the Silicon Valley. It's supposed to be spring, and we have lots of things lined up to share. And I'd like to do a quick introduction and give space to our guest today, Gopi Rangan. You want to do a quick introduction?
Sure. It is sunny here in Silicon Valley, where I am in Menlo Park. It's a sunny, crisp, and beautiful spring day. Welcome. It is an honor. It's a pleasure to be the first guest. Am I right? Am I your first guest in the Silicon Valley Life podcast? It's a pleasure. It's a true honor. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but I know that the two of you will get a lot of stories out of me. So I'm very excited to see what we're going to talk about. I'm a Silicon Valley geek. I've been here for like 25 plus years. I'm a venture capital investor. I run Sure Ventures. I'm the founding partner there. I also run a podcast called The Sure Shot Entrepreneur. And I'm also a professor of entrepreneurship. I teach at INSEAD.
Excellent. So let me just say a few words about why we're doing this. Actually, it's interesting that Meena and I came together a few years ago. We've been collaborating on some startups. So we'll do a little bit of introduction of who we are and why are we doing this. So we finally decided that we come from very different backgrounds. I'm from Pakistan. She's from India. She's a techie person. I've been a business CEO person, diving into venture capital startup scene for many years. So we both have different perspective, but we enjoy living in Silicon Valley because to us, this is where we feel normal. We feel at home. There's something about the culture, the way we live, where we eat, what we do, and interesting people we meet every single day. No 2 days are alike for me. And frankly, my typical day starts at 6:30 and ends at 11 o'clock and is full of fun. So what is that like? Why do people do this? That's what we're going to talk about. We'll do a bit of a more introduction about our own background. Meena, do you want to say how you view Silicon Valley?
Just a little bit of introduction. For me, what really brought me down this podcast is share. Silicon Valley is very vast. There's so much of experiences you can gain out of it. And there's a lopsided way. When you're in the technology world, there's so much about tech, so much about innovation. And we forget about all the things around us. And so it's been a little bit of discovering that balance for me. And I want to share the journey. And so here I am prodding Naeem, having met him over, a VC idea, prodding him to focus a bit more holistically of what Silicon Valley Life is. And this is what we do here. And we bring special guests once in a while to give a little bit more insights from their perspective.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I came here to US to study electrical engineering, and that was like 40 years ago. So having worked for large companies like Honeywell, having worked for 7 startups, having been CEO 5 times, I've also been teaching entrepreneurship at University of California, Berkeley for 18 years, and also at Northeastern University for like 7 years. So like Gopi, this is interesting because you're an entrepreneur, now you become a VC, you're also a professor. Give us a glimpse. What is your life like? How did you get a kid from Chennai comes to Silicon Valley, runs a VC firm? Tell me.
Let me break the myth here. It's actually very easy to become a VC. It's extremely difficult to be a good engineer, which I was at one point. I was a good engineer. I was really a good engineer. I have 40 patents. I invented a bunch of things. I worked on various different topics in software and hardware, all the way up to blockchain more recently. And then I switched to the business side. I went to business school at INSEAD. And when I came back from business school, I felt like, life is way more interesting spending time with founders, entrepreneurs, building new things. And that's where I've spent the past 15 years. On the business side, I usually say that when I switched from engineering to business, the average IQ of both worlds increased. And it's been a tremendous journey working with founders. They are a different breed of people. They are extremely ambitious and very, very dedicated and very passionate. And spending time with them on a daily basis, hearing their stories is so much fun, which is why I like what I do. It's the best job in the world for me as a VC. The way I got into venture capital, I was an intern at a venture capital firm, and I was it's called Avishkar. It's one of the first for-profit social impact venture capital firms. It's based in India. I spent the summer there. I spent a few weeks, and they showed me the power of entrepreneurship, how it transforms societies, how it brings new ideas to market. Until then, I was just a pure geek. I was an engineer. I would build things, but I had very little business sense. But when I saw what new companies can do, they take a blank sheet of paper and redesign what the world should look like. That's what they do. And that is a great way to create new things, introduce to the world, and see the world in a different way that other people aren't looking at. And the changes they make are revolutionary changes. Every startup has some kind of revolutionary change they want to bring to the world. That's what I saw. And that really, really fascinated me. So that's kind of the beginning of my venture journey. We can talk more about the rest of my 15 years in venture capital. But that was the taste of venture capital I got when I was a summer intern, and I kept that.
So let me pinpoint a little bit, right? I also have a very strong engineering background. I've been in payments and platform engineering. And when I look at a VC world, I usually, even being in the Silicon Valley, there's access to a lot of them. But I usually approach with an idea in mind to a VC firm, right? Because we're looking to break ground on something or do something differently with a huge impact. That is the only access we got. And I'm going to tell you from this side of the story. You can send thousands of, like emails. You can do a lot of LinkedIn message pings. And it is very hard to approach any one of them because I'm sure many people are doing this. How would I differentiate to get attention of a VC firm? Or how would I win, other than going to school, which is one way of getting into the VC world? How could I approach this world? And how do you all do that? How do you select whom you would be approaching and not approaching? Any regrets in those cases?
VCs don't know any better than the average person on the street what's going to happen in the future. They don't really have a crystal ball. They don't have a way to predict. They don't have visibility beyond most other people. What they're really good at is they're super curious. They're extremely voracious in their learning capabilities. They are so interested in learning. They're always geeking out on things. Some of the best VCs I've worked with are that way, and I am that way as well. My friends joke that call Gopi, before Google was invented, call Gopi, you'll get an answer to anything. It might be wrong sometimes, but he'll always have an answer because I've dabbled in so many different things. I have a point of view and an opinion of something based on firsthand experience or something that I've dealt with. So that's the first quality. The second is good VCs thrive on forming fiercely independent opinions that they don't rely on the rest of the world to align. They don't look for other people to agree with. They are very happy to be early believers in something. They're not looking for signals from, oh, if you say yes, I will also say yes. Most VCs, good VCs, don't do that. Like, they are very happy to be the first person to believe in something. And the third thing is they are super ambitious. They are very happy to back ideas that are extremely bold. I'm giving you this perspective so as an entrepreneur, you know what's the mindset of a good VC. So then you can think about how to position your story, how to reach out to them. If you give them something new to learn, you're very likely to catch their attention. If you give them something that they haven't seen before and they're going to be one of the first people to believe in a new idea, unproven things, unproven founders, they love backing them. And not the last, but not the least important, but actually one of the most important is make your idea very, very ambitious. Try to change something that improve status quo by 10x, not like 10%, but like 10 times better, 50 times better, 100 times better, something new, create a new normal, new way of living, new way of operating, new way of working, that is going to get their attention. So this is the best way to begin to start have a conversation, and we can talk about more about how to keep the VC engaged in your conversation.
No,
Can you
Naeem,
give, I was
I
going to
like
say, can you give,
your take. I like your take because I know you have a lot of students you work with, and I'm also one of your exceptional cases. How I got your attention. So how do you? I'm just comparing and contrasting for our audiences. How would you do it in your perspective?
my perspective is I'm looking for strange, oddball people. It's not the normal people who change the world. When you meet somebody, they strike you differently because they're thinking differently. They're strange, sometimes annoying, but always there's a depth to them. To me, those people will find a way and do something crazy. Like Steve Jobs said, that is the people, crazy ones who change the world. So I think there's something there. I don't know, Gopi, I don't know if you agree with that. And also give us some example. What were some of the ideas or people you met which fit that category and say, wow, I got to dig deeper. This is it. What will
Yeah,
be some of the people?
Steve Jobs is right. Like the people who have bold thinking, very different way of viewing the world. He calls the default world, and your way of thinking is stuck in the way that you've been taught to do things. Get out of that default world, go into a new world, create a new world, and describe it in a way that other people can understand. I believe in that. Most people, I will also caveat that most people who say that I want to change the world, they don't change the world. Most people who are passionate about doing something that they care about, they are the ones that end up changing the world. I'll give you a few examples. Now, let me start with a macro view. We are living in a world where it's largely peaceful. I understand there's war and a few other diseases and a few other things going around, but from a macro point of view of the past few hundred years, there are far fewer people dying of war. There are far fewer people dying or devastated because of natural disasters. There are far fewer people, kids dying under the age of 5. There are life expectancy numbers going up pretty much in every country, more and more. People are living healthier lives. People are living longer. People are far fewer people under poverty line today than ever before. So overall, in a world today, we live in a very comfortable place. No major issues that we're dealing with. There are always issues that we have to deal with, and I want to acknowledge that. We have communal issues, political issues, and there's still war going on. It baffles me that after 2,000 years of civilization, we still have to kill each other to prove a point. I just don't understand why we can't figure out a way to solve things. I acknowledge that. I don't want to dismiss that. But in the grand scheme of things, why did we get to a point of such a prosperity? It is not new religion. No, we didn't find a new Jesus Christ or some other, the Messiah didn't show up and introduce a new religion to us. That happened a few hundreds of years ago, and that's been relatively stable. We didn't bring new form of governance. Like, kings and queens existed a few hundred years ago, and we've discovered that democracy is the best way to govern. It has flaws, but it's the most optimal way to govern. We didn't create new forms of government. What has really changed and brought us to this world today is creation of new businesses. At the heart of all of this is entrepreneurship. And that's why we see everything that you touch today, the tools that we're using to talk to each other now, and the tools that we use to form relationships with each other, the food we eat, the clothes we wear, and everything around us, every product that we touch and feel, there is some amount of Silicon Valley there in every part of it, in a significant way. How we move, how we travel, how we communicate with each other, how we fall in love, and how we buy houses. And every step of the way, there is some amount of Silicon Valley touching your life. And
The
that is
macro
truly
level.
transformational.
But I still want to hear some of the example of people you came to you as an entrepreneur, as a company that which rearrange the furniture in your mind.
Okay. I'll give you a few examples of companies I've worked with in the past. Now, let me start with the examples of companies that I worked with before I started my own firm. The two best examples out of my investments before I started Sure Ventures, the two companies that went IPO, are Adesto and Coinbase. Adesto was one of the first Internet of Things companies. So this technology came from the labs in Arizona State University where I was a student. My professor was the inventor of this new technology. It was called conductive bridge at the time. And how do you productize this technology? Productizing something coming out of university is extremely difficult. This professor had spent like 15, 20 years, pretty much entire his academic life, focusing on this invention. But taking it to product, bringing it to market is something that is unthinkable. It's not something that academicians do. So there's this brilliant entrepreneur who had the perfect background. He had a lot of experience in memory technology and took that idea and brought it to market. And even then, like after that, many years of research happened before it really came to market. And because I had this unfair advantage that I saw the technology, its capabilities, I chose to invest in this company on behalf of the company I used to work for. And that's how it happened. It is pretty bizarre. Now Internet of Things feels like it's a common thing and everybody understands. And at the time when all of this came together in 2008, 9, 10, it was Internet of Things. It was Internet of Everything. Is it a hype? Cisco produced this analysis that showed that there's going to be some tens of billions of devices with all of them going to be smart. Everything that is beige on your wall will suddenly become smart. Your refrigerator is going to be smart. Your power sockets will be smart. And this is all, even today, feels like science fiction. But imagine 2008 and 9 and 10 when internet was still not ubiquitous. The smartphones were just barely beginning to coming into market. And someone comes up and says that, this thing called Internet of Things, we're going to power that. And by the way, my memory technology is 200 times smaller and faster and more long lasting than anything else that exists in the market. This almost breaks physics. That's how outlandish this idea was at that time. And it still took a lot of years to really build a business around it. It's one thing to invent, but it's a whole other thing to build a business around it. And they successfully did that. Eventually, the company got acquired, and they're now part of Dialog Semiconductor. So that's one story. I'll give you another example, and then we can talk more. 2014, around 2012 and 13, I started researching blockchain. I heard this thing called Bitcoin. And Satoshi Nakamoto wrote this paper, and I read that paper like 10 times. I still couldn't understand what it was all about. I still don't understand the whole thing. And I felt like, there is a new way of doing finance. What if this becomes true? What if this changes the way we think about money, economics, transactions? And what if this becomes the standard? If it does, and this is the beauty of venture capital. In the real world, we live in the bell curve trying to optimize for marginal improvements and protect failures. In the venture capital world, we're always asking the question, if A, B, C assumptions are right, how big can this be? So that's the question I ask myself. It is such a beautiful journey to go through an entrepreneur and ask the question, how big can this be if what you say is right? Versus in the real world, we ask the question, like, in what many ways can you go wrong, and how can we prevent all those failures? In my world, I live in an abundant optimism mindset. That's what happened when I started reading about blockchain and Bitcoin, and we came across this company called Coinbase. Mount Gox was hacked. So crypto was just going into the winter of no one wanted to touch crypto. And we ended up investing in Coinbase against the popular view, even at that time, for crypto. And it turned into a fantastic investment. I also researched blockchain, and I filed a few patents on that topic. I also bought some Bitcoins around the time. And I've been geeking out on the topic, but every 6 months, the whole world of crypto changes. There's so much happens, and I wouldn't say I'm an expert. I'm barely catching up to see what's happening. And I'm really excited to see what's going to happen in the next 10, 20 years in crypto.
Yeah, those are some very mega trends. Yeah, Meena?
I was just about to ask, how many Bitcoins do we all have in here?
Enough to feel happy, but not enough to retire.
Absolutely. because Bitcoin is going through it's going through its exchange, doubling and things like
Yes.
that. So you see the movements are pretty big and swing. It's a high risk, but like you said, it's got a lot of future in it. I'm going to come back to you, Naeem. You haven't shared a story. I like to hear your story because both on the same space, and I want to compare and contrast so people get a little bit of flavors in here.
See, the Silicon Valley goes through phases, and right now we are in one of the most exciting phase I think there is. We went through a phase like that in late 90s when the internet was becoming real and everything was possible. Then we went to another phase 5, 6 years later, but the smartphones came out as a platform. It changed everything, how we did things. Then came the era of mobility and IoT. Now it's all about AI. So people in Silicon Valley that talk AI all day, it'll be interesting to hear from both of you that what are the use cases which you find most interesting? What are you investing in? How does it change the world? I'm excited about able to capture knowledge and digitally clone experts. So we can have an excellent professor in every classroom, excellent doctor all over the world, which can interact with patients. It simplifies the thing which are redundant. There are many companies that I'm investing in and also mentoring and advising in AI. What are both of you looking at and what is exciting?
I will tell you a
Gopi,
trend.
yeah,
I
tell
will
me.
and then Gopi, all yours. So I will tell about a little bit of a trend that it's robotics. AI in the end of the day is also robotics. So if you ever been to a restaurant, there are some restaurants in Silicon Valley you can go and your entire experience is a robo serving you food. And let me tell you, I have contrasting views on it. A part of me is like, whoa, so efficient, because I have to worry about a lot of the labor costs that come with hiring people to help in restaurants, and that's the most difficult industry around here to find employment in for multiple reasons, right? So that part of it I can see the solve, but I'm also very conflicted. My experience has become with the robo, so I'm not sure I'm enjoying it in one angle. For sure. I pass it to you, Gopi. Anything to share around the AI world?
Let me give you a big picture of how I think about all this. For many years, I built technology for technology's sake, and I invested in companies that created products that pretty much sold to other technology companies. And at some point, I felt like the intellectual satisfaction alone is not fulfilling for me. I My real purpose is in finding applications of solutions that already exist and taking them to areas that really transform the way we live and work. So I've spent the past 10 plus years mainly focusing on startups that build applications on existing technologies. There are plenty of people who focus on frontier tech, deep tech, advanced technology, and of course AI is always interesting, and I've been investing in AI for 10 plus years. It's great to see that the market's finally arrived, and there's ubiquitous adoption of AI in various different industries. But I'm particularly interested in industries and segments where there is a massive gap in adoption of technology, but those industries are backbones of our society. I'll give you the examples of some industries I focus on: insurance and banking. There are many examples of other industries like real estate, communication, media, entertainment, on, and many other industries. I particularly focus on insurance and banking because these are noble industries, especially the insurance industry, because it protects us when we have bad events that happen, either because of natural disasters or bad luck or some event like that that can actually bring us down. We spend a lot of our time building assets, and we spend very little time protecting those assets. We need a better safety net. We need access to innovative solutions that create a better financial safety net and the social safety net for us. The insurance industry is stuck in Stone Age. The NPS scores of products and companies overall is abysmally low. I mean, healthcare is so broken in the US. And pick any other sector within insurance, it is screaming for innovation. And I can't wait for solutions like AI to really bring significant change in the way products are created, business models are designed, and how products reach customers, and how we, in the end, create a better safety net for people. And I almost feel like all of the AI revolution that has been created so far, it's mainly designed for this insurance industry. In the end, insurance is all about data, analytics, and marketing. There's a significant portion of legal as well, which will also be disrupted by AI. So I can't think of a better use case for artificial intelligence than the insurance industry. And now banking has been a little more innovative in the past 15 years. Insurance is just barely catching up. I think the banks have figured out that they have to invent different ways of engaging with customers, and they have adopted more technology. There's a significant transformation that's already in place in banking. There are so like 20, 30 unicorns in the fintech sector, but insurance sector is just beginning. So I expect in the next 10, 20 years, we're going to see many unicorns come out of this space, and billions of dollars of venture capital funding going into this space.
Can you give a specific example of company? Like, what do they
Sure.
do? I want people to get an idea, because then when I switch to the rapid fire round after this.
Okay. I'll give you one example. There's a company called Juno. They build child insurance product. Child insurance is a standard product in the Nordic countries, in many other parts of the world, the developed part of the world. Just like how health insurance is available, and when you buy health insurance, you can staple dental insurance and vision insurance, especially if you work for a large company. But child insurance, the product doesn't even exist in the US. So to me, it feels like, look, US is one of the best countries in the world, if not the best. And yet we lack in a few fundamental things like child insurance. And
What is child insurance? I don't understand.
I'll give you some description. Like child insurance, the way I describe it, it's like it's the public transport of what we lack in the US. A few things that we lack in the US is public transport, the metric system, and child insurance. Child insurance is supplemental insurance when something bad happens to a child, and that has a significant impact on the family. Either a parent has to take a longer leave than usually available, or they need additional therapies or additional medical care, and even other things, support that they need at home. Maybe they need more caregivers and various other things like that. They need to buy equipment and to support the new situation, the new normal in the family. Often when this is not available, in especially places like Silicon Valley, those families leave, can't afford to live here anymore. That's how we create bubbles. We create echo chambers of people who are able-bodied, give 110% to whatever they do, and you'd rarely see any disabled person in Silicon Valley because the society doesn't support those families. And this is something that is not only a financial product, it is going to bring social change, because now families are better protected when they have an instance like this. It can have massive financial impact, massive emotional impact on these families. But at least if you have a child insurance product, you can manage the finances a little better, so you can go back and look at what is most important for the family. This product is like, in my mind, this is a no-brainer, has to exist. But it doesn't exist today. None of the insurance companies have really created a product that makes a mass market appeal. So Juno is building that product. And I was one of the first investors. I think I was the absolute first investor to commit to say that, yes, we need to bring this product to the world. They've raised a few $1 million, and they have created a product. They've launched the product. They have a couple of customers already bought in. When I say customers, these are large employers that have adopted the solution. And imagine when this goes mass market, this is going to be a standard, just like health insurance.
Nice.
Yeah. You wonder why this was not invented. Must be a reason, because it's not like nobody ever thought of it. You said it's popular in Europe, so it'll be interesting to understand why it hasn't happened so far.
Yeah, the underwriting model is not very clear. It's not impossible to create, but a small group of people, highly motivated, need to go out and figure out the underwriting model. That's what Juno has done, and others haven't done that. You have to figure out a way to distribute the solution. It's not only enough to create the product, you have to get it to market, find channels to distribute through, and you have to find a way to make it sustainable for a long time. Like it's one thing to create it and another thing to sell, but it has to stay for a long time. And the business model needs to be self-sufficient unit economics needs to work at the small scale and at the large scale. And those are things that it is not something that can be solved by two engineers in a garage. It requires partnerships between startups and large corporations all coming together, and that's not a trivial thing to do. It takes a significant fortitude on the part of entrepreneurs to go out and build something like this.
So, Meena, we're gonna go and ask Gopi some question about like what is he reading, what is he watching. But I realized we really never introduced you to the audience. What do you do? Who are you?
Am I not supposed to be the silent one facilitating? So, a little bit about myself and what do I do. So, if anybody knew me very early stages when I came to the United States, I have an unfinished master's in food science. That's my background. Clinical dietetics, and then the point where you really can eat by yourself is what I did, IB diets. And then I realized I just want a job, and I got into computers because it was my minor. It's a better way to make money even then when I started, which is 20 plus years ago. And I made my way up, being in software. Very holistically, I never touched hardware. It was not my thing. So I worked on applications and how do you bring, impact to different parts, of the communities plus technology, impact to technology and community. This is what I do. And my domain spaces tend to be between payments, platform, and anything to do with workflow automation, which is the starting of the AI, the AI buzz, as you call it. Automation was the first thing that
But you were at PayPal, you were
Yes,
at Twitter.
absolutely. I've been around town. So I've been in companies. I started in payments and E-Trade. I worked for Booz Allen, E-Trade, a little bit, and PayPal, and then Yahoo, Twitter, Airbnb, and Slack, Salesforce, Stash, and Gusto too. So
Yeah,
a little
like
bit of yeah.
well-known names in Silicon Valley. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had very good luck, very good run. I've learned being, in the middle ground all the way in technology, and that's what I wanted to do. And this valley gave it all to me, so I'm very appreciative, and that's why I want to share what the valley is, all about. There is opportunity, and then there is the cons. I'd also say I'm a very social person, and this valley has taken a little bit out of me, and so trying to find the social side has been challenging. I love animals. I go from riding horses to training dogs to just standing out and having fun. And those are the things that I want to continue doing and not get carried away by what happens in the Silicon Valley. So that's why I'm here too.
I think that's a good point because that's why we call our podcast Silicon Valley Life. It's not
Yeah.
just about startups, not just about innovation, but a lifestyle.
Yeah.
The one thing I feel so normal here because there's so many interesting people from all over the world, restaurants, cuisine, food, places to go. So Gopi, share with us some of the hidden gems you have discovered, either places to go stay or places to eat. What's on your list?
Yeah, Silicon Valley is a real melting pot. You can be black, brown, yellow, blue, whatever color you are, whatever ethnicity, whatever accent you speak the language in. Everybody is prepared to talk to you because they know that people are different. I can't think of any other part of the world that embraces diversity and openness the way Silicon Valley does. You can meet people on the street and you'll never know whether they are from here or from somewhere else. And in fact, a lot of the people from elsewhere, that is not the case. Even in the city where I grew up in Chennai, you can clearly spot an outsider. And in Silicon Valley, you can come from Pakistan, you can come from India, you can come from Croatia, you can come from Argentina, any part of the world, and you can be a local. I can't say that uh, about any other part of the world that truly welcomes people and allows them to make a home and they become locals. I have a few favorites here. Uh, I'm Indian, so I'm going to start with an example of an Indian restaurant that has recently become extremely popular. It's called Meyyappan Express, and they have another brand called Idli Express, and they have, I think, 5 or 6 outlets in the Silicon Valley. The restaurant actually started in Sacramento. Okay, so hear this. There are probably hundreds of restaurants, maybe 100 to 200 restaurants that are Indian, Pakistani in the Silicon Valley. But there's this one restaurant in Sacramento, which is like 2 hours away from here, that ships food from Sacramento to thousands of families in Silicon Valley. So imagine how good they must be.
Yeah.
That all these like nutcase families who are so adamant about the specific flavors, authentic flavors of South Indian food you can't get anywhere, and you can get it only if you go to Sacramento. That's how good these guys are. So I am an addict. I've been a customer for many years now, and I'm delighted to see that they're doing really well, and they've opened multiple branches in Silicon Valley. So I,
One
I
is
go there
Idli
at least once a
Express.
week.
What's the other one?
Idli Express and Mylapore Express. Those are the two
Mala.
brands they operate.
Very interesting. Who would have thought?
Yes.
Yeah, and the system of like opening up so many branches, right? That's the whole creativeness in there. What about you, Naeem? Any golden gems you visited last few?
Well, for Desi food, Zareen in Palo Alto, and they have opened a couple more branches, is excellent. But I've been going to this one restaurant called La Fiesta in Menlo in Mountain View for like 25 years. So one family, Alejandro, Lucy, Pablo, five sisters, one brother, and they bring all the ingredients from Mexico, and it's really, really good. It's next to nothing, 240 Villa Street. So I don't know if you guys been there.
I've been to La Fiesta. I really like their food. I like their burritos.
Yeah.
Their mole sauce is
Meena?
fantastic.
Mine. I will take you back to cafes. My favorite cafe in the South Bay, which is like not San Francisco for anybody who's not in Silicon Valley. It's near San Jose, Los Gatos. Fleur de Coco. I love their croissants. This is the
What
first
is
time.
it called?
It's called Fleur de Coco, which
Fleur de
is
Coco.
flower of the cocoa. And
Yeah.
the initial owner won many chocolate awards, and so he opened up this cafe in downtown Los Gatos. Now it's changed owners, but the croissants, the almond croissant, is something to crave for, especially in the morning when they open up and it's warm, right? You don't want the croissant to be cold and rebake it. There's nothing like that. You go for a good hike near downtown Los Gatos, you sit down and you munch away on all the sugar and the carbs. So I love
I
that.
love it.
If
Gotta
you
do
like
it.
French bakeries, you should try Maison Elise. It's one of my favorites. Their croissants are like,
Where is it?
they have a couple of locations. The one I go to is in Mountain View on Castro Street, and they have one in Burlingame as well. Their croissants are just like how they are made in Paris.
Yeah.
I spoke to Vincent, the owner, asked him, "Where do you get your butter?" And he won't tell me. He says no. He actually imports it from France. He said, "I don't know if it's true or not, but I actually wanted some of his butter so I can make ghee at home, but it's not. I don't know where he gets his butter from. I think he gets multiple different types of butter, some for sweet, some for savory, and different types of creations that he makes. It's one of the best."
Well, that's some very good pickup lines, pickup suggestions here. Hey, we only have 2 minutes left. Maybe one thing I was going to ask you: what you watching on Netflix or streaming in general? Anything which you recommend?
I'm a big fan of the TV show Silicon Valley. I've watched every episode, and I keep watching reruns of it. It is so close to real life; it's sometimes scary. Schitt's Creek is an amazing series. My wife and I like watching that. Uh, Podcast, there are two podcasts I really love, and these are long form podcasts. One is Remarkable People by Guy Kawasaki, and there are no advertisements, and he does it's probably one of the best well researched podcasts with an amazing list of guests. And the other podcast I listen to is Acquired by Dave and Ben. They do like 3 hour podcasts and deep dive on a company they pick, and they go research everything about the company. So if you ever have to know anything about the company that they've researched, you don't need to do anything else. You just listen to their 3 hour podcast, and you'll be the world's best expert. They have all the information you need.
That's serious.
That is awesome.
Well, good. We picked up some pretty good ideas here. So I think I want to make it compact and short, not say. Meena and I will share our favorite things next time.
Yeah.
So thanks for watching. Thanks for coming. Enjoyed having you. Thank you, Gopi, very much for coming here. Meena, you get the last word.
I get the last word. That's just wonderful. Thank you, Gopi, for sharing your perspectives and especially around how do you reach VCs. It's been $1 million question even sitting down in the Silicon Valley. So thanks for sharing that aspect of it. And like always, hopefully you got a little bit of what the valley is like from all different 360 angle. And see you all next time over something else.
Yeah,
Thank you
indeed.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You've been tuning into Silicon Valley Life with your hosts, Naeem Zafar, and Meena Meyyappan. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, concordiaventures.com. Thank you for your positive feedback, comments, questions, and for sharing this show with others.